You've probably seen the claim online: medieval peasants worked less than you do. They had more holidays, shorter days, and more time off than the average modern office worker. It gets shared constantly, usually with a number attached. And the honest answer is more complicated than the meme, but also stranger, because the part that's genuinely true isn't about how many hours they worked. It's about who decided when the work stopped. Start with the part that's solid. The medieval calendar was saturated with holy days. Beyond Sundays, which were already non-working days, the church calendar contained a large number of feast days on which servile labor was formally prohibited. Major feasts, saint days, and the extended periods around Christmas and Easter meant that in many places, a substantial portion of the year was formally exempt from required work. The specific number varied enormously by region, by century, and by whose land you worked, which is exactly why you should be suspicious of anyone quoting a single confident figure. But the general picture is well documented. The year was structured around a religious calendar that regularly stopped work, and stopped it for everyone at once. Now here's where the popular version starts to mislead. A holy day was not a paid day off. There was no wage arriving regardless. For a peasant working their own strips of land, a day without field labor was a day without field labor, and the cows still needed feeding. Historians studying medieval agricultural labor have consistently noted that domestic and subsistence work continued on holy days, and that this burden fell heavily on women whose work in food preparation, childcare, textile production, and animal care had no feast day exemption at all. So the accurate framing isn't that medieval peasants had lots of leisure. It's that a large portion of the year was closed to a specific kind of work by an authority nobody could override. And that difference is the actual story. Ask yourself what governs when your work starts and stops. A clock, probably one you don't own, running to a schedule set by someone else, measuring your time in units you're paid against. That arrangement is historically recent and genuinely strange. Historian E. P. Thompson wrote a famous essay on this transition, arguing that pre-industrial work was organized around tasks rather than time. You worked until the harvest was in, until the cows were milked, until the thing was finished. Work intensity followed the seasons, ferociously hard at harvest, much lighter in deep winter. Time was something you moved through while doing things, not a resource being counted and purchased. Industrial work inverted that completely. The factory needed everyone present simultaneously because machines ran continuously and one absent worker stopped a line. That required clock discipline, and it required breaking the old calendar. Thompson documented the resulting conflict, including sustained resistance to the loss of traditional holidays and the practice sometimes called Saint Monday, where workers simply didn't turn up on Mondays, having treated the day as their own. Employers found this intolerable, and over the 19th century, the informal calendar was progressively dismantled and replaced with formal, much sparser holiday entitlements. In England, the Bank Holidays Act of 1871 created a small number of officially recognised holidays, which is a striking thing when you consider what it replaced. Sit with that. The modern system of a few statutory days off was built on the ruins of a calendar that had stopped work far more often, but on someone else's authority rather than your employer's. There's a further wrinkle that complicates the romantic version in the other direction. Economic historians studying real wages have found that the picture varies hugely by period. The decades after the Black Death saw labour become scarce and wages rise substantially, and this window produced some of the strongest evidence for high leisure and short working years. That was a temporary consequence of catastrophic mortality, not a stable feature of medieval life. Push back earlier, or forward into the 16th and 17th centuries, and conditions look considerably harsher. So the meme is cherry-picking one unusual window and presenting it as the medieval norm. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you, and it survives all of that correction. The thing that actually changed wasn't primarily the quantity of work, it was ownership of the boundary. In a task-based, calendar-governed world, the stopping points were external and non-negotiable. The feast day arrived whether your lord wanted it or not. Darkness ended the working day whether the job was finished or not. Winter arrived and there was simply less to do. Nobody had to defend those boundaries because nobody had the power to move them. Every one of those external limits has since been removed. Artificial light removed darkness. Global supply chains removed the season. Secular scheduling removed the religious calendar. And portable networked devices removed the physical boundary of the workplace itself. What replaced them is a boundary you have to defend personally, every day, against pressure that never stops arriving. So the next time you see the claim that medieval peasants had more days off than you, don't take it literally, because the numbers are shakier than the people sharing them suggest. Take it structurally. They lived inside a calendar that stopped for them. You live inside one that only stops if you stop it yourself, and there is nobody left with the authority to ring the bell.